I told y'all before it was supposed to the bowl. Nothing but the repeat with wins back on the throne. All we do is set trends, so you know what we on. Yep, I'm back with the remix, it's 4th and Jawn. All birds, all Philly, midnight green. Things changing for the better since we got that ring. Put the league on notice, we're not done. 2019, we adding another one. Yeah, you heard me right on every Tuesday night. 8 to 10 birds of a feather got that flight. Nothing but the hot takes. Back with the big facts for the fans, by the fans, exactly where we at. Pull up to the tailgate, stop by F1. Baptized by the Pope, been bass for everyone. Flying in from the West Coast, even overseas. Get blessed by Ginger Jesus, we disciples of the tree. E-A-G, wait, C-H-M-P. S, don't stress, we on the same conquest. Dominate the division, destroy the NFC, conquer the AFC. Grab that Vince Lombardi, Wentz to AJ, climb it up the gut. Beat Graham with the strip sack, this sound familiar, huh? Aguilar on the slot, Sproles with the return, Mills with the pick six. Okay, wait, it gets worse. J-Train on the run, J.E. hitting from 60. Fletcher seeing that D-line, that's what you don't want to see. Ertz catching Tubbs, foes on another level. The Super Bowl ain't the only time you see that Philly special. We live from Broad Street, brotherly loves the heartbeat. Hungry dogs run faster and we don't eat cheap. No one likes us and we don't care, cause we from Philly and we ain't never scared. Look up.
But I just gotta know one thing. Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
What's up, Philadelphia? We are live broadcasting from Wildfire Sports Studios for NBC Sports Philadelphia. Welcome to the 4th and Jawn Show, episode 68. Boys and girls, week 1 is a wrap. It's in the books. And while our Philadelphia Eagles opened up the 2018 season against the Atlanta Falcons and walked out of Lincoln Financial Field with the dub, it took me a full weekend to really digest what happened on Thursday night. It took me a full weekend, including the 2 Monday night games that happened last night. Because it's easy to lose perspective when the bright lights are on, when the NFL world is watching you, when you got your NFL owner walking down the field holding up a Vince Lombardi trophy and you're raising banners and all the football world's eyes are on you. It's easy to lose perspective. I needed to watch the entire weekend's worth of games to get this perspective and to come to this conclusion. Boys and girls, your Philadelphia Eagles can win games with this brand of football. Sure, it wasn't always pretty. There was some good. There was some bad. There certainly was some ugly. The good, defense looks nasty. Defense looks fearless. Defense looks like you're not getting in the end zone, and it doesn't matter if you're in the red zone or what kind of team you are. The offensive line, Jason Peters, helped protect. Listen, I would love to stand up here and pound my chest and say we were right during the week 1 episode when we called it. Don't ask Nick Foles to do too much. Rely on your running game. Get after the quarterback. Get after Matt Ryan. Put him on his butt. Make him feel uncomfortable because the strength of that Atlanta Falcons team was their passing game. Let the defense do their thing. Pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. Let this defensive backfield shut down their passing game. Don't ask too much of Nick Foles. Rely on the running game. Control time of possession. If you do that, you're going to win. I would love to sit here and pound my chest and say we were right. But boys and girls, this isn't a hard game to game plan for. This formula is going to work. And we only need it to work a couple more times until Carson Wentz comes back, our MVP candidate comes back, Alshon Jeffrey comes back. It certainly wasn't the best game that the Eagles have played, but we have yet to see the best Eagles football of 2018. Don't poo-poo off this win. We're 1-0. Sure, it was ugly. but they proved something. They can win with this formula. It may not always be pretty, but a dub is a dub. And they only have to win a couple more till all those people come back. I'm excited. You're 1-0. High fives all around. Let's not forget 1-0 in the NFC conference now. You got a tiebreaker over a potential wild card team. Listen, the football season is a marathon, but every step of the way counts. The Eagles certainly made it count on Thursday Night Football to open up the season. I'm excited. I needed time to digest it all. I needed time to recover from that tailgate. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure I'm fully recovered from the tailgate. That was epic. We're going to get into all that. But Mr. Gale Saunders, Eagle Sessions on Twitter. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. I feel like a champion. We're 1-0. I mean, like you said, a dub is a dub. At the end of the day, it's all about stacking W's and looking at these wins and quarters. Like Doug Peterson talks about breaking up these wins, and this is the first quarter we got to win, and a win in a big way. Last week I talked about punching the Falcons in the mouth. You saw where we won. We won in the trenches. We ran the ball. You got Jason Peters back throwing dudes out the club. You got Fletcher Cox looking like he's a defensive MVP out there. At the end of the day, you got to love that. But the other thing that you do have to love, you have to love the creativity from Doug Peterson. The ability to, when the game is on the line, have trust and faith in your players to do something special. And we're talking special. We're talking Philly Special 2.0.
Yes, sir.
A play that they haven't even really practiced. Maybe like one other time. Malcolm Jenkins said he didn't see them practicing that play. But then you also look at Jim Schwartz dialing up a zero blitz with Rasul Douglas in the game. On who? All-world Julio Jones. Having that type of confidence in your players, make sure, if you know that your coach has that kind of faith in you, that means you step up your game when the game is on the line. And I'm telling you, it was so electric. It felt like we were watching last season's playoff game.
Yeah.
I was just on the opposite side in the same exact corner. I felt the same exact way leaving there. I had the chills again. I'm like, man, this is great. If a team can win games like this in tight situations, it builds character.
And Jim Schwartz spoke about it in his press conference today, how it's easy to have that kind of confidence in your defensive players and how comfortable that is to call a game, because he's not blitzing for the sake of blitzing. He doesn't feel like he has to do that. He trusts his players to go out there and make plays and blitzes on his terms. I feel like even though he doesn't blitz much, that's such an underrated aspect of it, that he gets to blitz on his terms. He doesn't do it because he feels like he needs to do it. He does it because he wants to do it. And that's why these blitzes are coming home, getting home. Matt Ryan was all over the place. He was not acting like Matty Ice. That ball coming out of his hands looked all sorts of wobbly. He looked like he had zero confidence. And although Julio Jones went out for a $169, how much of a factor was that when they really, truly need him? Boys and girls, you are on the verge of watching an epic defense. I got news for you. We're going to revisit this conversation at the end of the season, look back on this and say, oh my God, that defense. They are that special. And it's a symbiotic relationship between the defensive line and the defensive backs, because they have a rotational, players rotating in and out, fresh horses to get after the quarterback, and then a lockdown secondary. I think Brandon Graham said it on WIP on Monday. He's like, it's easy when you have that secondary. All you have to do is lock down the first read, and by that time, we're already there. The goal line stands that this defense is putting together with confidence. That's the thing, with confidence, and fearless too. And this dates back to last year. Absolutely, that Falcons playoff game felt the same way watching them Thursday night. But let's not forget, I don't want to dig up the preseason, but let's dig it up out of the closet. Same thing happened against the Browns when they were on the goal line. They had 4 chances to punch it in. They couldn't. Why? Phenomenal communication between Mills, Darby, and Jones, And by the time those guys were covered, the defensive ends were already in the backfield, and Fletcher Cox is in your face. That's a tall task.
What did you say?
Cox in your face, baby.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
He was lethal, man. He was. I mean, talk about, he looks like he's inspired, man. He looks inspired, and that's, you see him, did you see him on that screenplay?
I was just about to bring it up.
Murian matching with her. Whose DT does that?
Nobody.
I mean, he's running down the field making tackles. Fletcher Cox just, like, he's making guys look silly. He's double teamed. We're not talking, run-of-the-mill guards. He's going against, Pro Bowlers. Their center and the guard had a tough time with Fletcher Cox, and that's, you love to see that. I mean, that's a difference maker.
I'm not sure we're talking about the same play, but there was one thing that stood out in my mind watching it from the stands, and you got to understand, folks at home, like, we're at the game, so we don't have the benefit of having the commentators in our ear or telling us what they think we should be looking at and paying attention to. We kind of have to observe the game almost from like an all-22 perspective. There was one screen pass where Fletcher Cox had a clear lane to the quarterback. Clear-cut lane. Didn't take the cheese. Diagnosed the play, dropped back, and broke up. Like, who gives up a sack opportunity to read the play correctly and break up the play? This guy is going to be competing for defensive player of the year. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. You combine the quickness of a Warren Sapp, the power of a Reggie White, and the intelligence that he's bringing to the game.
Dang, that's kind of dope.
That is kind of dope. Absolutely.
Just to steal your girl.
Well, now that I got my juices flowing, now that I'm all excited because, Fletcher Cox, I'm also excited. Gail, I'm gonna let you announce this. We got something special planned for the upcoming week 2 in Tampa Bay. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people about it?
Well, big shout out to Bud Light and Philly. At the last tailgate, they actually bless the tailgate. A lot of people were enjoying the Bud Lights. You got to thank Bud Light for that at the tailgate. But we actually teamed up with them again this week.
Yes, sir.
Originally we thought we were going to watch the game at home, but we're going to be flying out to see the Eagles play the Bucs, man. And that's
huge.
That's dope, right?
That is dope.
And at 4th and Jawn is all about bringing people together. Bringing friends together, and we want to bring 2 other people with us. So we have 2 extra tickets for our 4th and Jawn listeners out there. We want you to tell us why you and your best friend deserve to win these 2 tickets and tailgate with us this Sunday, courtesy of our friends at Bud Light. So hit up our DMs, hit up our on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Tell us why you should be picked, and it's going to be a great time.
So here's how this little contest that Bud Light and 4th and Jawn put together is going to run, because this is an awesome opportunity. I mean, not only are we thankful for them flying out, but you know how 4th and Jawn rolls. You know what we're all about. We're all about bringing together people. Good people, fans, right? And Bud Light's all about bringing together best buds. So they have an extra set of tickets that we're going to give away. We're going to post a video on our Twitter page, okay? And the video is also going to go on our Facebook page.
Yep.
And what Bud Light is asking you to do is post about a 2-minute video explaining why you and your best buddy should be sitting right next to Gail and EROCK, other best buddies, and watching the game Philly style right there at Raymond James Stadium. Lower level tickets. You showed me, dude. That's
yeah.
It
was pretty nice.
So you got to be 21 or older to enter. Obviously, you got to. This is for like Florida 4th and Jawn listeners or people who can travel to the game. Just give us a video. Tell us why you and your best bud should be sitting with Gail and EROCK from 4th and Jawn, courtesy of a VIP Bud Light experience, courtesy of Bud Light. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to get down there and see all those Eagles fans. I know they're going to take over that stadium, much like they did when we took over Dolphins Stadium and all that. So expect another sea of green and 2+2 courtesy of Bud Light. We can't wait to put that video out and see your responses.
Philly.
And my Hollywood Hearn, First of all, before we even introduce you, my friend, this is the individual that picked the Falcons to beat the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field to open up the season. Everybody, let's give Hollywood Hearn a nice 4th and Jawn welcome with a boo!
Put him in the bedroom. Get him out of here.
I had that coming. I saw this game coming down to it being a dogfight. I saw the entire game just being back and forth, and that's ultimately what it ended up being. It ended up being almost like a mirror image of that NFC Championship game, where it came down to whether Julio would catch it in the end zone or not to win. But dare I say it, the 4th and Jawn tailgate, I think, possibly was more entertaining for 3/4 of that game. The first 3/4, between the penalties and us not being able to get anything going, it was not how I wanted to see the Eagles start off the season. It was it looked a little bit rough, but we got to shake the rust off. Yeah. But to stick with the tailgate, there's one shout out I want to throw out there. Aaron Ortega. Huge shout out for the mugs that he made us. Yeah. Birdman, dude, those mugs are awesome, dude. Like, I love it. So thank you so much for those. Really appreciate it. But as far as the game is concerned, I don't know how. I know that it's still up in the air as far as when Carson Wentz is going to be back, but I can't help but feel uber confident in the rest of this team. We're just so deep in all the other areas of this team, whether it be the defensive backs and in those rotations, or the defensive line. Or I know that our wide receivers weren't able to get it going, but our running backs were able to pick up the slack. I think that this team around the quarterback is going to be able to carry the Eagles until Carson comes back. I really don't have too much of a problem with that. And I really, Trox, you were professing your love for Jim Schwartz earlier. I got to tell you, man, like you were talking about taking the cheese. How about the cheese of putting Rasul Douglas on Julio Jones, and then that play, Rasul Douglas, I looked it up. He played 2 snaps the entire game. He got 1 interception. That is impressive. Everyone knew exactly what was going to go on there. Matt Ryan was licking his chops. He saw Rasul Douglas coming off the bench cold, and he saw him one-on-one with Julio. Bit the cheese, man.
And Rasul said that he read the play. He knew it was coming.
Yep.
And that's the one thing about Rasul. He's a ball hawk. He did it in college.
Yeah. And he did it last year, too.
And, I mean,
he had a few interceptions last year.
He did it in preseason as well. So, I mean, that's exciting to see, though.
Definitely.
Well, let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about the tailgate. Listen, everybody's been asking, like, what are you going to do to one-up that sort of tailgate? What do you guys have planned next? And I don't think we can.
Now, it's kind of hard to top. We set the bar so high week 1.
Dude, first of all, it went off without a hitch. There was no hiccups whatsoever. We had our dude Brennan standing up on the truck bed with the microphone, killing it.
Killed it.
Word for word.
Action for action.
Action for action.
Yeah.
He even made his voice crack.
Oh, my God.
So, how do you do that? On cue.
That was crazy. And when I was sitting behind him and just looking at the fans, looking at, him do the speech, I was like, they're in a trance. I
saw Jason Kelce up there.
Yeah,
that's what I saw.
They want more. It was crazy. I was like, dude. He really transformed into him.
He did.
And I just want to give a shout out to him, and a shout out to all the people who showed up. And then watching the jersey burn, like it looked like some religious. It was like a
religious experience going on there.
It was crazy. And shout out to Don Smolenski, president of the Eagles, coming down there like a boss. Coming out of the stand, coming out of the offices with the swag and everything, comes up, just puts on the fireman's jacket.
Lit it up.
And Big E, though. Yeah. Big E for finessing that jersey, making sure it would go up on fire. He did a great job. Thanks for him. I couldn't do that stuff.
Just one thing we did at the tailgate. We had a lot of the memes that appeared during the postseason. We had a lot of memes. We had I saw a Birdman showed up late, right, with the bird mask.
Yep.
Pillar guy.
He's a blast.
He is a blast, but Trox, I believe that you actually witnessed. So Pillar Guy, it became famous for after the Eagles. Was that after the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl? After the NFC Championship game down on the subway, he ends up trying to catch the train, missing it, and he slams into a pillar down in the subway station. This dude, as soon as the jersey went up, inside of the trash can, this dude goes full shoulder bore into the bowl like it was the subway pillar. Like he loves it. That's his thing.
Yeah, him and his brother were awesome.
Yeah, they were so funny, dude.
I gave Don Smolinski every opportunity to back out of it too, because the Eagles social media team told me that he was going to be there, and I'm like, I don't want to announce it on Twitter because what if he backs out? What if he figures out everything that's going on and he doesn't like it? And it's like, all right, all of a sudden I look silly because I threw it out there and he's not going to show up. We saw him at the Bud Light statue unveiling. Yeah. And I went up to him and I said, "Hi, Mr. Smolinski," and he looked at me and said, "F1, 6 o'clock. I'll see you there." I was like, "Really? Are you gonna burn it?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, I'm down." I was like, okay. Still didn't want to announce it because and then I finally got enough courage up to go ahead and put it out there. And then when he came to the tailgate, I gave him one last opportunity. I'm like, "Don, are you sure you want to do this?" And he was all about it. So that was awesome on their part.
And he brought the ring. He was flexing with the ring there. That was pretty dope.
Why would you not?
And then shout out to Prime for that the
good security
replica, the security plus bringing the replica trophy. I can understand how athletes get annoyed by people coming up.
Yeah,
people were like, they thought it was the real thing.
Yeah, you really think they're going to entrust 4th and Jawn?
Walking around the parking lot.
Here's the Lombardi Trophy. Go nuts.
Hey, but it was a great experience. And then I had this one random moment with this dude. He was just like, "Man, you're my son's biggest hero."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Really? He likes 4th and Jawn that much?" He gave me a look like, "What are you talking about?" And he's just like, he's loved you forever. This dude thought I was Brian Dawkins. I was like, bruh, I know I'm black and everything, but I'm not Brian Dawkins. He's like, "I need your email." It's like,
nice.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and go to the phones to somebody who was at the tailgate. Mr. DC Darrell is on with 4th and Jawn. DC, we appreciate the crab cakes. I know you were partying up there and with us there. Are you on the line, sir?
Yes, sir, I am. How you fellas doing?
I'm doing great. How are you feeling now that you've had time to digest it? You've seen all the other teams in the NFL go about their business. You have time to digest that victory of the Philadelphia Eagles. How are you feeling being 1-0?
I'm feeling good. Based on what I've seen with the Giants with their collapse and then Dak, or Rain Dakota as they call him, implosion. And then the Redskins, they played the Cardinals, man. So I'm feeling really good. We played against a tough NFC team, and it went just like the playoff game last year, down to the wire. It shows that we stuck through, and we just never panicked. I loved it.
Now seeing what the Bucs did against the Saints, which nobody expected, but they got in the shootout down there. I tweeted out and got a little flack for it. You know, doesn't look like week 2 is going to be as easy as initially expected. How are you seeing week 2 shaking out for the Birds?
I think we're going to win that game just like last year. I said we couldn't beat Carolina, how they said we couldn't beat the Rams, how they said we couldn't beat Minnesota. I mean, they're going to say the same thing. Pretty much, we are underdogs regardless, and that's what it is. But I think we're going to beat them, go down to Tampa Bay, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is not going to do the same thing to that defensive line at all.
Now, DC Darrell, you're in the DC area, obviously.
Good context clues.
You know, are the Redskins fans feeling themselves after that dub?
Oh, according to them, they're going to the Super Bowl just like we did last year.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
AP from the retirement home.
Yeah, I mean, they played Sam Bradford. Come on, dude, like really?
Yeah, but
we dealt with him for 2-3 years.
Yeah,
we already know what it was about.
I give it until week 6, 7 tops until the Cardinals are calling upon Josh Rosen. The Cardinals, by the time all is said and done, they are going to be competing for a top 5 draft pick. So if I'm a Redskins fan, I'm happy with the way AP ran. All right, don't want to doubt him. He's kind of a freak of nature, definitely a future Hall of Famer. But how much gas is he going to have for an entire 16-game schedule? And let's face it, eventually Alex Smith is going to turn back into Alex Smith and be Johnny Average the entire time.
The funniest thing, everybody knows that Alex Smith likes to throw to the tight ends and the running backs, as you saw with Jordan Reed and Chris Thompson, of course. But Jordan Reed's going to get hurt like getting a pedicure or something, so I'm not even too concerned about that.
Well, DC, we appreciate the scouting. We appreciate the scouting report from down there in Washington and appreciate your support there at the tailgate. Did you have a good time, buddy? Did you have a good time?
I was dog tired, but it was all worth it.
It was all worth it. We were all dog tired. That was a late night and a long day.
Thank you for those crab cakes as well. Those
Delicious.
are always a blessing.
Yes, thank you.
Brother.
It's like the tailgate's crazy, and all of a sudden the crab cakes come out of nowhere, and you're like, wow.
Brought us back down to earth.
Wow.
It's the only thing I had to eat that day. Dude,
Really?
It was so busy. By the time the tailgate was done, I'm like, oh my God, we got to go watch a game now.
Yeah.
Like, I was exhausted by the time the kickoff, came around. We're going to keep the phone calls rolling. Let's go to 323. The 323 number next. You are on
Fourth
with
and John.
Mr.
323.
Fourth and John. How are you doing this evening, Mr. 323?
Mr. 323 is Piccolo in the building.
Oh, there he is. There he is. What is happening, big guy? How are you doing?
Oh, man, life is good, man. The Birds is up 1-0. We just raised the banner in Lincoln Financial Field. Life is great, yo.
Absolutely. Now, having seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, is there any concern to you with the next, I don't want to say next game, but next 3 or 4 games until Carson Wentz comes back with Nick Foles at the helm?
I'm not really concerned, man. I think if Doug runs what was consistently working with him, which is, pound the ball, keep that same aggressive attitude. And we're playing the Bucs, we're playing the Colts, and the Titans. I think those are enough warm-up games to have Carson ready to go. And I think we'll be fine, honestly.
Absolutely. Like I said in the intro, this is a formula that can win you the next 3 games. Right? So if Carson Wentz comes back to the Philadelphia Eagles 4-0, back home, granted it's against a tough Minnesota Vikings team, but you're talking about Nick Foles and that formula right there. You didn't have to ask too much from him. You relied on your defense. You won the battle in the trenches. You won the time of possession. You're running the ball. The defense is playing with swagger. I mean, this formula can get them to that 4-0 point by the time Carson Wentz comes back.
Absolutely, and the crazy thing is that it's only going to get better. I mean, Nigel Bradham did not play, and he's one of our lock-in defenders. Carson hasn't played. Alshon Jeffrey hasn't played. It's a lot of room for growth and getting in a much better position, not only in the NFC East, but in the entire NFC and the entire NFL.
Absolutely. We appreciate you calling in, Piccolo. You're breaking up a little bit, so we're going to let you go. He's the man who ignites this podcast in the beginning, drops that fire intro, and that's actually available on iTunes too if you want to pick that bad boy up. Right, Gail?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. One more phone call. We're going to take Bren. Oh, man. The man, the myth, the legend.
It's Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce is on the line, or at least the impersonator. Now, Brent, I haven't had the opportunity to speak with you post-tailgate. But has your Twitter absolutely blown up after that Jason Kelce impersonation?
I had to take the app off my phone.
Are you serious?
Get the hell out
Are you
of here.
serious?
He's
well,
acting.
I didn't realize I could mute notifications, so I put it back on my phone. that shows you my technical proficiency.
Dude, that was absolutely...
Yeah, no,
go ahead.
Like during the game, even just during the game, I deleted Twitter off of my phone because it was just going nuts.
Well, as it should have, because you absolutely knocked it out of the park. I remember asking you before you went up on stage, I'm like, so, buddy, you got any notes? And you're like, nah, man, I got this memorized. I'm like, you don't have anything written down.
Dog.
How long did it take you to memorize that speech, like, word for word?
About a week and a half.
That's it?
Wow.
He said it so nonchalantly.
Yeah, like a week and a half. That's what you do when you're a professional actor. You know,
studied the facial features.
Yeah.
Week and a half.
How did you get your voice to crack on cue?
So, admittedly, peek behind the curtain. There's a couple of those cracks that were not acted. Those were real, because it was so hot. watched him on about 20 minutes before the speech, and I snuck away for a couple minutes just to do a couple quick vocal warm-ups. So just some stuff where kind of focus on, breathing from the diaphragm and supporting the voice and stuff like that. And with that, you can kind of do those weird vocal cracks in a pretty safe way. So the big thing was, that no one wanted us, no one liked us, stuff like that. As long as you're supporting the voice and doing it in a safe way, you can do stuff like that pretty easily, so long as you know what you're doing. And fortunately, that's one of the few skills that I do have.
So aside from all the voice training you did for that, you were able to nail all of the actions and mannerisms as well. Was that just a lot of practicing in front of the mirror?
No, I don't really like doing the whole practicing in front of the mirror thing. I watched the speech probably about a dozen or so times.
Jeez.
And then I listened to it a lot. So I recorded his version of the speech on an app that I use for line memorization.
Okay.
And I would listen to it while, driving to school and driving to work and stuff. And then about a week beforehand, I recorded my own version of it where I kind of cleaned up some of his, where he would stumble over his words a little bit. I cleaned up a little bit of that just to make the whole thing flow a bit better. And that way I could hear it, the emotion and the emphasis in my own voice. And from there, like the motions that he did for the most part were fairly simple. So the big one was, it's the whole team. It's the whole team.
Yeah, the slam. Yeah.
Yeah. From that, everything else I did was mostly just kind of playing off of the microphone and stuff like that. It's just kind of like, I can just kind of wing that.
You wing the hell out of it, man.
Now, Brendan, did Jason Kelce at all reach out to you after seeing this? Has anyone from his camp?
He has not. Now, I was interviewed by the Philadelphia Inquirer earlier today about the whole thing, and I coyly mentioned like, hey, if Kelce wants to, reach out or something, I wouldn't be opposed to meeting the guy. And someone sent me a message. Apparently his wife is on Twitter, because Kelce, to the best of my knowledge, is not on Twitter. His account that he used to use has been active for like 2 years. But someone sent me his wife's account and said he can maybe like message her. So I'm not sure if that's weird or not.
You trying to slide in Kelce's
Kelce just sneak in a dark room?
Yeah, like, hey, show this to your husband,
Well, maybe just maybe there's a listener out there who can help you along in your quest to meet the man you were impersonating at the tailgate and did so well in doing so. And maybe if our friends over at NBC Sports Philadelphia want some great digital content, that would probably be a great idea to have the impersonator meet the man himself. That would be legendary. Brendan, we can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
You blew the roof off of the place. Everybody was impressed.
Blew our expectations out of the wall.
It went viral as all hell. It was awesome. We can't thank you enough for doing that at the 4th and Jawn tailgate. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
my friend.
Thank you, guys. It was a lot of fun.
All right, man. You take care. Be well, my friend.